think it is, yeah. Yeah, and then do share screen. Bottom,
I know.
And then right there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, he's.
That I have.
And then over here, we gotta go back and.
Oh, because he's like, do you know who this is? And I'm like, you should. No, I'm supposed to. Haven't a clue. That's not good. West.
That's a, then that's weird. So then you'll just. Oh, just scroll down.
Here, when you open that up, you open up
Oh,
the public hearing.
Yeah, we're just a person here. And then you'll do share.
Oh, there.
Yeah, okay, we both got confused on that. So then you'll do share, share for like Kathy's presentation and then Jody's. That's it. So new share.
What? Don't say that.
We had an extensive training session yesterday to learn how to do this. Your mics are live is what you said.
I didn't say anything.
You can hear your own mic.
Never speak.
Start doing the Darth Vader. Welcome to the Isles.
Walk slow or fast.
Slow. According to me, it's slow. According to my phone, it's slow. I wouldn't know. My phone knows more.
Yeah,
Mine says 3 to. I don't
mine says 4.
split the difference.
So that thing goes big anyway.
Like, what's night word?
He was a Power Ranger guy.
Yeah, ask Andy about Power Ranger. Amy, ask him about Power Rangers. He'll know. You remember that?
Should I just?
I do remember.
Just close that?
No,
Just
just
leave them.
those, yeah, you can close those.
For sure. it's recorded.
All right, let's get this party started.
So just, yeah, just. Hold on, let me double check.
Yeah,
I think so, because it's on.
Just for fun.
I'm here.
Give us something to fight. More fun this way.
Yes, let's go to, pause share. So hit play,
Yeah.
resume. Okay, now hit play. This, no, hit play again. Resume share. There we go. So yeah, it's up. Let me. Yep, so then you could pause recording or stop.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's for when the tomatoes come, right?
You ready, Janice?
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
I'd like to call the Tuesday, December 19th, 2023 Allen City Council to order. Janice, could you please call roll?
Councilmember Atlan,
Here.
Councilmember Levane,
Here.
Councilmember Ratten.
Here.
Vice Mayor Mitchell
Here,
and Mayor Rhodes.
Here. We have one closed session item. Would someone want to make a motion to move it to the end of the meeting?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
We have first and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Will you all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, no, I get out of the way. I sat there before. I know you, otherwise you're like.
Can we get a approval of the agenda?
Like to pull on the consent calendar, the minutes for discussion.
So we can pull those, yeah, we can pull those once we get to the consent at the time that's just approval for the agenda. If the agenda in the form that is presented.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second.
First and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Have it. Moving on to presentations and announcements. We have one item, a mid-year operations report from James Water Services regarding the wastewater operations.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'd like to introduce the James Water Service staff with us tonight, that Waterstone, I'm sorry, I always read it as services. So we have Kathy Stone, we have Jim Whitaker, we have Bonnie Dennedy and Steve Richardson. And so with that, Kathy, if you want to come to the podium, and we have a PowerPoint, so Janice will switch over to your PowerPoint. And thank you for coming tonight.
Yes, thank you for having us, Mayor and council members. It's been a pleasure serving you all since July 1. It's kind of challenging getting everything started and documents, and attribute a lot of that to Steve for getting all the required documents that were necessary to operate the facilities. So we've got a lot of good feedback from the state and from the city, the fire chief, from police staff, city staff, that they're doing very pleased with the services. Regional board was out on September 11th and September 28th, and very pleased with kind of done our communications, our reporting, things like that. So we've gotten a lot of good positive feedback, which is very motivating for us. So thank you for having us, and you go ahead and click to the next slide. Okay, since we started operations July 1, we've had no violations of the sanitary treatment plant. It's met compliance the last 5 months. We had some issues at the wastewater treatment plant with the influent flow. The influent flow meter is not calibrated correctly. We had someone come out and try to calibrate it, and the way it's configured, it's not calibrating or reading accurately. So we're working on getting a new flow meter and getting that corrected. The state knows about that because it's reading high flows, and they are aware of the situation and that the meter is not being calibrated correctly. Like I said, we met with water boards, and again, they're very pleased with our operations, Howard and Kenny, and we're working with them on how to document everything and send it to them and how they want it, spreadsheets or narrative or pictures. And like I said, they were there on the 11th and the 28th, very pleased with the operations of the staff. All regulatory reports are completed and submitted on time. We actually get them there a month ahead of time. They're due on the 15th, the following month, but we get them to them right away. There's an annual volumetric report that's due April 19th of 2024 for any irrigation, like to the golf course or the farmers. And so that will be taken care of. I'm not sure if it's been submitted before, but I'll go on GeoTracker and take care of that. And ABC has cleaned 18,364 feet of sewer lines up until November 30th. That is all detailed specifically in the monthly operations reports that you all receive. It tells the address, it tells how many feet, it tells what they found, and it tells what needs to be done to fix it. And that leads me kind of into the SSMP program, which is called the Sanitary Sewer Management Program. And so I've been working with Amy, and we're trying to review that and make sure that we can submit that to the regional board. And that has to do with the lines being cleaned. It has to do with overflows, response time. So it's a pretty inclusive document. And so we should be able to submit that probably the first of the year. So that goes along with all the ABC. I talk to ABC every couple of weeks, Jim as well. And so Stephanie sends us reports of all the cleaning. And so I do include them in your guys' reports for your review. I'm also in the process, you can go ahead and flip to the next slide. I'm in the process of developing a pretreatment program here. I'm going to review the city ordinance. I'm not sure if there is one, but I do have the license for that. And so I've done the ordinances, I've written the ordinances for City of Corning and City of Willows and Mountain House. So I'd like to develop and send out flyers, something like this. Normally we attach them to water bills just to educate the public on, not putting grease down your system, because the number one problem of overflows is grease. And so, because people just, dump it down the sink and then it clogs up and then you get an overflow. So I found it very beneficial to send out flyers, or even go door to door and put them in their mailbox. So we're going to attach them to the water bills, and then I'd like to develop the pretreatment program. And Jim and I used to do a lot of grease inspection in winters. So we can go around and get the grease interceptors, you find out who pumps them, that kind of thing. And they have to report that to you on a monthly basis, how many gallons were pumped from their interceptor or their grease trap. And some of them might just have a simple one underneath the sink that they can just clean out manually and put in something and then throw it away. So we'll go through that. I'm in the process of developing that. You can go ahead and go to the next slide, I believe. Okay, this is gonna go into Bonnie, but the next thing that we're doing, Bonnie and I, in my previous job, I was I certified all the labs throughout the state of California. And so I'd like to do that here with this facility. Bonnie has her lab 2 cert. I have my lab 1, and we can save the city a lot of money in coliform testing, because coliform testing is once a day. And so if we get the lab certified there, we can do it in-house, which will reduce the costs to the city quite a bit. And even if we just do it for coliforms, but a lot of the other stuff, Bonnie ran the lab at Mountain House for years, and I was a lab director for 20 years. So whatever we can do to try to save you guys money is what we're looking at. And so if we can do that, certify that lab, which we did that at Mountain House because they were doing back teas every day. And it gets to be expensive. So if we can do some of that for you and reduce the cost, we're going to look into that. Bonnie and I have done the application for it. We know how to do all the aspects of it. And all of this is obviously no charge to you guys. We're just doing it on the city's behalf. And I'll make sure and run it through you folks before we move forward on it. So, and then I talked about the sewer management program for submission. That I mentioned that with the program. And right now the maintenance and repair fund is about 56.74% used. And we have about half of it left for another 6 months. So I feel pretty comfortable with the things that we've been doing. Jim's going to basically talk about all the, improvements, things we're doing, things we fixed, stuff like that. So right now, there's a remaining like $21,630, I believe. So starting the first of the year. So we work with Jody very closely on that and have documentation of everything that's been spent on the M&R fund and where it went, and receipts and all of that. So she's been very pleasure to work with when it comes to that. So that's kind of my brief overview of the last 5 months, and it's been a pleasure being up here and working, and the plant looks great. I encourage any of you guys to come down and look at it and tour it with us, and especially some of the improvements that we've done, and you'll see some of it in some pictures. Jim and Bonnie have been working very hard. So, and I brought Steve along because he was my boss for 20 years. And so he was very helpful, very initial part of this contract. getting everything started, so. Any questions for me, or we can wait until afterwards? Afterwards.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you for having us. I just very quickly want to say, since I started, working in ION, everyone has been so friendly, so helpful. You guys have a wonderful public works department. The fire chief has just been, everyone's been just really great to work with. And, anyway, I'm more of an introvert. I'm not really, a public speaker, so bear with me.
You can go ahead and flip to the slide.
Yes, next slide. This is, part of the lab.
Well, when we first got there, you couldn't see the counters, you couldn't see much of the floors. Everything was kind of just in shambles, and so Bonnie's cleaned it up, she's labeled everything. Everything's got labels on the outside, we've ordered some laboratory equipment. And she'll talk about some of the QA/QC that she's done, but you literally couldn't, there was a workbench in there. It was about the size of what these folks are sitting. So you couldn't even go around the corner to the lab because there was a workbench in there. So, and that's the first thing the state noticed when they came in. That was the very first comment they said. It was like, wow, I've never seen this lab like this. And so, we've got it really organized and cleaned up well, so.
All right, next slide. Okay, for the lab, well, all monthly samples have been completed as required by the permit. Instrumentation has been calibrated correctly, and we have implemented laboratory SOPs and working with Kathy, implementing a QA/QC program, that's quality assurance, quality control. And we have created new laboratory bench sheets and plants, job safety and laboratory safety, job safety analysis forms. For laboratory results to be legally defensible, and that's like when you're being audited, all calibration and analytical data must include the buffers and the reagents must be traceable. That means that you have to document the manufacturer, the lot number, the expiration date, and then you must use a check standard to verify the calibration after you do the calibration. And you need to run at least one duplicate per batch. A batch is a group of the same sample or when you're running an analysis, if you have more than one sample, that's a batch. And sample times and the read times must be documented to verify the hold, your hold time. Okay, next slide. When I came into the lab, this was the documentation for calibration. Next slide. This is the bench sheet that we have implemented now. As you can see, we do have all of the required information, the calibration information, the buffer to reagent information. This particular one is for pH. We have the IBC, which is the initial calibration verification, and then the CCVs, which are the continuing calibration verification. So, you know, again, because my background is primarily lab, that's kind of been my focus. And Kathy's been wonderful helping me get a lot of these things in there as well.
And that was one thing the state commented, because we've both been audited from the state lab and the state, and so they commented on that they like this kind of implementation. Okay, next slide. Oh, that's just a sign that,
That's for the sample refrigerator.
yeah. You don't wanna put,
That's
you
what I
know,
noticed.
your,
Want lunch in there?
oh, that, Jim's gonna get to it, but we posted over 22 signs at the facility. There was none of this, at the facility. So we're big on safety, again, being audited by OSHA. So this is just some examples of signage that we put along around the whole entire plan. Next slide. Oh, more safety stuff. A laboratory is required to have a, fire extinguisher specifically dedicated to the lab. So we implemented that as well. Okay, next slide. It's just our instrumentation. Okay, next slide. And this is what Kathy was talking about earlier. California has what's called ELAB, which is the Environmental Lab Accreditation Program. If you get a lab certified, you have to do it through ELAB. It's not through the State Water Quality Control Board. There is a process that you have to go through. You have to apply to get the lab certified. Then they send an auditor out to verify that your lab is compliant, and then you receive the certification. In some of my past jobs, we did BOD, coliform, solids testing. I've worked in water and wastewater quality labs. Yeah, wanna kind of help me? explain your- We also told the state about that. They like that idea as well. It's a lot easier when you can run a test yourself and get the results the next day. So then you kind of know how to operate your facility as you're waiting for 5 days. Like, if I help my BOD, what's my TSS? So it's nice when you can get the results the next day, and that helps with operation of the facility, knowing when to waste, knowing how much chlorine to do. It's just, it's just a much better operation when you can do that. And I think the next slide just goes through some more housekeeping. Yeah, next slide. This is the room. You couldn't see the floor, couldn't see the desk. And so this is where all of our SOPs are now. There were so many maps on the desk, you couldn't even see the desk. And we put a bunch of signage up in there for high voltage, that was not in there. So this was very impressive, and it took her days to clean it up. And I'm very thankful that she did it and got it all organized. Yeah, so that's just another after picture. Next slide. That's Jim. Thank you again for putting up with me again. I'm not a big talker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Neither am I. Thank you for having us. I think I've met everybody. Well, when we started doing this, first thing I noticed was like the tertiary plant, when it was built, basically was state of the art, and there's a whole, right, 3/4 of all the instrumentation stuff that was there is not there anymore. It disappeared somewhere in the last 30 years, so we're trying to get that and buy some new stuff that needs to go in. Sorry, I'm nervous. So we're investigating the facility issues. It's like we saw the flow meter go down like 300,000 gallons from 500 and something, and I had Telstar come out, and the flow meter that's on the pipe right now has a minimum of 40 inches from any restriction or elbow. Well, it's only about 18 inches from the restriction. So the guy was like, I can calibrate it. And so we ordered another flow meter, and Telstar's gonna put it in. The ponds, we tried to spray them as much as we could, but I have to get my certification. The city was gonna have a class when they hired their new employees, but that's on hold for right now. We've been addressing the trip hazards and confined spaces. I do all the USA markings for the clients every day that we're doing. We oil and greased all the blowers and motors like we're supposed to. Like she said, we put safety signs throughout the plant. We have a new chlorine analyzer on its way. That's part of the Title 22. They want to be able to measure the dose, which is at the head of the contact chamber, and the demand, which is on the end. So that's coming in. I got new polymer pump. The pump control that controls the speed of the pump broke. So it's really hard to try to get the dose right. So that's getting fixed, but I didn't want to fix that because I only have one pump, and if it went out, the plant would go crazy. So done housekeeping, ground maintenance, repaired a broken eye wash, put fire extinguishers, and the wet well level sensor for the COWRP effluent wet well that pumps it to the wastewater treatment plant. The sonar went out the sensor, so we got a radar one coming in, so it's not in the water.
And you can just hit some of the, these are just some of the pictures if you want to.
Yeah.
Hit the next one. A lot of the signs that we, yeah, you can keep it, and a lot of the signage that you can go ahead and keep it.
Good.
There you go.
The new chlorine tank came in, and we're trying to get a plumber to plumb it. We had all the pumps in the system pulled and inspected. 2 of the influent pumps at the wastewater treatment plant have seal failures, so they have oil in the linings. So those got taken to the shop and fixed. I moved the big aerator that wasn't in use in pond 1 to pond 4 because the aerator in pond 4 broke because they're really, really old. So I'm trying to figure out if we can even fix those. Just painted all the stairs and all that stuff. Part of the Title 22, I guess, whatever the city's got going on with that, it's part of your compliance was to get the berm fixed so the water wouldn't go in the creek. So we got that fixed, and I've got every one of the ponds, 5, 6, and 7 are basically empty. So we got plenty of storage. So if for some reason it rains so much that they all fill up and it fills the thing up and goes in the creek, we can say, hey, we did our due diligence. I've got timers coming in to put on all the aerators, so we can cycle them on and off, and that'll save on maintenance, plus it'll save on power consumption. Because if you put too much oxygen in the water, it doesn't really mean anything. The level sensors coming in, had the water boards in, and we're working with Westios on facility improvements, SCADA, telemetry, Headworks project, and creating extra pond storage, like I mentioned. We shut the plant down on the 17th of November. We've cleaned all the sludge in the contact tank, and we're draining all the other tankage and washing it all out and everything. So, and we're planning on painting the
You can go
buildings.
ahead and, there's pictures. That's the going tank.
So these are just pictures. You guys want to just scroll through them, and if you see anything you want to ask me about, that's fine. That's shape for pulling the lift station pumps at the wastewater treatment plant. That's one thing I can never figure out where all that water came from. The only thing I can think of is the water company was cleaning their filters is one thing, or ARSA, or the prison opened their valve accidentally and it went right in the guys' wastewater treatment plant. That's what the ponds looked like when we got here to the full.
Go ahead and click in the picture.
And that's the air, getting the aerator out, and then we put the other one in. That's the berm, and I put a road because part of the compliance is all that water goes in the city field, and it needs to get redirected back into the treatment process. So we got that all cleaned up, and that's the new berm road right there.
And you go ahead and click through the next, just bunch of.
And we started marking those are sample points. We marked sample points all around the plant, so people, we're marking piping to show where it goes and how the flows go. And that's the flow meter that should be in there. And the next picture shows that's what's on there right now. And that's the wrong application for that. device. It should be at least 40 inches. These are the inside of the aeration controls, and everything that was automated in there is gone in all of them. So that's kind of in the middle of getting pond 5 down. It's completely empty now. The drain pipe's out of the water. So we got plenty of room.
The next one's just show all the ponds. You can see that.
Yeah.
Pond.
And that's what the level sensor looks like. It rotted off of its thing. You can tell where on the right, I cleaned the sludge out, and on the left, that's the chlorine contact chamber. I have to look into where all that sludge came from because the filters are clean. So I don't, anyway, doesn't matter. There, that's just a picture. The clarifier over there had an automatic sludge removal. So it would waste automatically. That all got abandoned, and the lift station, I think, is the next picture.
Oh, yeah, I've got a lot of painting of the stuff that we did and signing. There are a bunch of them. You can split through those.
Yeah.
Bunch of those that we did that weren't never done.
And that goes along trip hazards. That's one of the NTU meters they used to have. That
Oh, go back one.
That one.
every filter had a turbidity meter, which basically just measures the clarity of the water. So you know the filters are working. And they had one influent, but now there's only one, and it's on the combined effluent.
So we're replacing all those.
Well,
That's just showing them.
that's how, I mean, those are the polymer pumps, and only one of them works. And that one closest to you is the one where the speed dial quit, so I had to get a new motor ordered. And like I said, I didn't want to mess with it until, you know, the plant shut down, so. We had all the generators serviced by certified people, so they're under warranty.
These are just some housekeeping.
That's
before,
what the
After.
That's what the shop looked like up there. That's the waste pump that pumps out the clarifier that goes into the drying beds, and that's just PVC pipe, so I gotta look into getting some better piping put in there. That's used to have a timer in it, the wiring, everything, that's just old. So I haven't looked into that stuff. More pictures. I don't know how they hand wheels, those are the drying beds, and they have telescoping valves in, so you can raise them and lower them, and somehow both of those handles got broken off. And that's what pond 5 looks like right
And
now.
we measured all the ponds. So you can
Yeah, we do that daily.
just showing how
They're
we
completely
got a lot of
pretty much.
empty for the flow.
That's the other part of the garage, and that's what it looks like now. And then you can see the paint on the buildings, just,
We're gonna paint all the buildings.
yeah.
In the process of doing that.
And that's what pond 7 looked like when I got here, and we're trying to get a tractor or a mower or something, so we can knock all that brush down. And that's just a picture of the new aerator, that's the road that they put in. Now it's got a ditch in it and rock, so it can drain properly, and I can pump it out.
And this is just some stuff that we're working on that we've already kind of talked about, analyzers, turbidity meters. So we're in the process of working with West Yost on that. So, and then the next one just shows the filters and how clear the water is. Yeah, you can see the bottom, you can see the bottom of the filters, that's how good the water clarity was, so.
And that's my spiel. I hope I helped. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add, they've been very helpful and responsive, and they've also been very responsive and helpful with West Yost as they've been doing a number of these studies. So thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you all as well.
Do we have at the city a list of the SOPs that are off-site at the city? For your SOPs?
Like the lockout, tag out, good safety, I'm not sure, but we can get you those.
I guess I'd just like to have, judging from past experience and the short time that I've been here, it seems to be that there's manuals that go missing and that if we could duplicate and have a copy of that available here at the city, that would be, well, especially if something, God forbid, drastic happened, it'd be nice to have that in 2 locations so we don't lose the information.
Any questions from council?
I have a quick question. When you talk about testing in-house, that's not going to eliminate the outside testing, correct?
Yes.
Can,
Well,
can,
not all of it.
yeah, you don't have to have a third arm's length.
That's what
You
that's
will.
what they do is periodically they send you a known stuff like a BOD sample, which is biochemical oxygen demand, which is what the organics in the water eat up. They'll send you one and you have to run it. And if it doesn't come out right, they go, you're not doing something right.
You have to do, they'll send you blank samples and then you have to analyze them. But the coliform, we do the test in-house. We don't have to send those to a lab.
Yeah, the reason I'm bringing it up is just because of past public comments about when we send our testing out.
Maybe I can answer that, Councilwoman. Most, probably 80% of the wastewater plants in the state have their own in-house certified lab. It costs a certain amount of money, but the state is very good about guarding that technology and guarding that operation like CPAs. So it's like an accounting firm that comes in and on a monthly basis, they'll boom, 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 check what you're doing. So it is a money-saving operation for the communities that do that. And because I believe the lab costs are pretty by the city,
Yeah.
it would be a money saving for you. So most cities like to have that, and it's, like Kathy said, it's not even the state water, it's a certified, kind of like an auditing firm for labs to make sure we stay on that. And then we, not you, are subject to fines and other discipline if our laboratory fails.
Yeah, the Lucky Lab's out of Berkeley. They do an audit each year. Like you said, they send you blank samples and it's tough for their inspection, but they're very meticulous on everything you do. So it's a good program and they drive you nuts when you come for the day, but you know, you want to make sure you're doing it right, so.
I think your question is actually kind of more to, so you mentioned coliform. What about the other where we send the test results to Alpha Analytical? What would be for specifically coliform and what would be specifically to Alpha Analytical?
Like we can't do standard minerals.
Yeah.
Like a,
Like
you know,
VOC.
thing.
Okay.
So
That-
we
yeah,
would still
that's where I
send
was
some
headed.
other ones out.
Yeah.
The equipment required for that's way expensive.
So what would be the benefit of the in-house lab for Ione?
Yes.
The coliform testing that's daily, it's like $50 a day or $60 a day. So and it costs, I think, $2 for the sample block, or not even that, maybe $1.50. And you just put it in, shake it, you put it, you gotta get an incubator, which is $300, and then you read it the next day. So,
And the turnaround time.
The turnaround time.
So the coliform with the turnaround time, the chlorination content. So if you don't have enough chlorination and you don't know until 5 days later, now you've had 5 days of violation.
That's what's really nice, is you do your demand, your in and out, your demand, and then you know what your coliform is. Yeah, so it's very frustrating when you don't get those results right away.
And building on that, getting those immediate results can help you run the plant better if you have problems, which then leads to your major cost, which is power. So that's the feedback. So the primary benefit to the city is the cost savings that come not only from the laboratory, but from the lack of future violations, the turnaround time.
And chemical savings.
Chemical and power.
Because lots of times, like she said, you can, oh shoot, do I need to turn it up? Maybe you didn't, you know, so if you get a good analysis from that, that's more efficient.
I got a quick question. I think you need to look at that, whether we can do that. I think we used to do it and there was a lawsuit and they didn't trust the city. So they wanted a third party to do it. So it went out to a third party. I agree. It's a lot less if you do it, but, you know, we'd have to do a little bit of research, I think, into whether we can bring it back in-house or not. So, but
Yeah, we're gonna go through.
When I ran the lab at Mountain House, I went through 8 audits, and actually ELAB is under the State Water Quality Control Board. It's part of, it's hard to explain. It's its own entity, but it is part of the State Water Quality Control Board. They are very stringent. They do not mess around. Again, I've been through 8 audits and never had issues, a couple of corrective actions, but so
We'll put together, you know, we'll find out the application fee and what it's gonna cost and what what we can do, run it in-house, and we'll obviously bring all that to you guys.
And you're taking the gamble anyhow, it's not us.
Well, we kind of are.
And we do have the cert to run it. Right? Gotta have a laboratory certification to run it. The pre-treatment program, you need to have environmental compliance inspector. I have, so those are savings that we can get to the city by running the pre-treatment program, running the lab, that kind of stuff.
I got a real quick question, and I can send you an email because I don't want to put you on the spot. But some of the VOCs decrease, as they go through the plant. And some of them, there aren't any to start with, and they're put in coming out of the plant. So that was my question. I mean,
I'll go back to all the lab
Yeah.
reports and I'll look into it. I'll get back.
and I can email you and give you the numbers and stuff.
And I was just looking at it on my phone.
Okay.
I was kind of trying to think what in the plant would add like acetone.
Yeah, or
Weird, why would that go up? But there's be a myriad of different things, so.
Yeah, Jim, we ran around the 20 plants, and my background is chemical engineering, so the VOCs are generally not generated in the plant. The plant uses pretty basic chemicals that we use from standard manufacturing all over the facility, all over the state. The first thing we look at whenever we find something like that is it a bad sample? Is it a bad test? Has somebody been doing a midnight dump somewhere that we didn't know about? Came in, or is there something internally in the facilities? The actual facilities you have there, is somebody using the methadone to clean, to degrease something that they need to proper maintenance on, and then it actually gets into a drain that goes into the service. We'll have to do a little detective work to see what that's about. Fortunately, the VOCs are generally an air quality issue rather than regulatory or water. Is that right?
Yeah, there's no limit to the VOC.
So it's not a violation. It's just something.
did you say that again? You're correct. Thank you.
But I will look into it. Now I'm curious.
I'll send you the stuff. Now I've got your email.
We had a violation in the last reporting, but there was nothing that told us what the violation was.
Something that it was like 820,000 gallons in a day, and that's why I put that picture in there, because I could not figure out where all that water came from.
It was a flow issue.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, the water agency does wash their filter through the plant.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was it, but they do that. So
Could have been, but
I think they do it every day. So
You see it every day, but anyway, I don't want to take you up all your time. I'll answer. I gave you all cards, so.
Right.
Anytime you want to come look, or if you got any questions, feel free to call.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Okay, does that conclude our presentation? Okay, with that said, I'll open up public comment. We got any public comment that's not on the agenda? You go ahead, you come up.
I'd like to ask him about the bubblers and the aerators, which is cheaper to run. They have bubblers in there for years. It's designed to.
Bubblers are 10 times better at mixing and aerating than a fan aerator on top, and only cost of is running.
Yeah, they took them.
Hey, can you do this after the meeting? This is public comment items not on the agenda. You can ask them after.
Couldn't comment on it because they never had a chance to comment on it.
Sure.
Do you want to do public comment on the?
Sure.
Okay,
Just
all right, let's open up for public comment on the presentation. Go ahead.
Can't comment on.
No, he just.
Oh, go ahead.
I just like the people to know that it's a lot cheaper to run the aerators, and they threw 3 of them out of the building when they were perfectly protected. And the last people couldn't fix an 1.5 inch plastic pipe to hook them together. Then they had them destroyed. Thank you.
Want to thank the new operators. Thank you, guys. I knew you'd do a good job, when you give us your presentation. So I'm glad you guys found out how terrible that place was down there, and how dirty it was, and I know there was I'm not gonna mention no names tonight, but there was a lot of people that thought Perk was, God down there. And we're finding out, that we paid them all that money and they really didn't do anything, they didn't even clean out the lab there. And everything was a mess. And all I can say is I hope next time we come across this problem, that some people in Ione listen to the public a little bit. Cause I went down there on a tour and went through that place, and I could tell just from the outside that it was a pig pen. I think some other people did too. And that there were a few people in the city of Ione that thought they were God, and all we did was waste our money paying them. Because they didn't do everything. All I can say is congratulations to you guys. We finally got somebody that's gonna do something. Thank you very much. And I think everybody else appreciates you and Ione.
Thank you, Andy. Is this going to be on the wastewater? Means I kind of screwed it up.
No, sir.
Okay, okay, hold on one second. Any other public comment on the wastewater presentation? Okay, we'll close public comment on that. Okay, now you may speak, sir.
Good evening, Honorable excuse me. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you tonight. This is my first time speaking in front of city council, and I'm both nervous and a little excited. If you could please bear with me as I read from my notes. I am dealing with what I call foggy brain. I'm going through cancer treatments at this time. To give you a little background about me, my name is Don Lindahl, and I'm a citizen of this county this community for about 16 months. I took residency here to help take care of my elderly mother. Although my time in Ione has been short, my family has fairly long standing here in Amador County, since about 2003. My sister lives in Jackson, works at DA's office. My mom's lived in Ione since 2006. As for myself, I've been visiting upcountry areas since the 90s, just enjoying the great outdoors. The reason I'm here tonight is to share with you that's something that God has laid upon my heart. The other night, my mom and I were driving home from dinner, heading through town on West Main Street, admiring the lights. We were getting ready to make the right-hand turn to go over the bridge heading home, when I saw some lights across the way. My mother informed me that the lights were in a parking lot that she had never seen before. So we drove to the lot to check it out. Upon entering the lot, I was feeling an overwhelming sensation of opportunity here. It just felt so perfect for a place to conduct some type of community service. For example, something such as a toy drive, food drive, or a place to hand out warm coats or food. It just seemed to be a perfect place. I recently felt like God has been speaking to me about being in service. I would love to serve our community, but without knowing the needs that exist here, I don't have a direction or plan. That's where you and God come in. As for God, we'll let him do what he does. As for you and the city, I would greatly appreciate knowing some more about the lot and what it's being used for. I would also like to know more about the needs of our community. I would welcome someone contacting me or letting me know who I could contact to find out more about the community needs. I'll remain here for a while if anybody would like my contact information, or I'd be happy to give it to the clerk. I want to say thank you again for the opportunity to address you tonight, and I wish you all a merry and blessed Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment not on the agenda?
Were you talking about the lights in the parking lot?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about? Okay, all right. I didn't know if it was that or Stacy's building.
Sorry, just wanted to clarify that. Patty Fisher, Mizuraka, lifelong resident. I've been here since 1964. I don't want to be the Grinch here, but I just want to make sure that council keeps in the back of their mind on rezoning Ione Elementary. Been in attendance up at the school board meetings and just trying to follow along with this consolidation, closing of Ione Elementary and the moving of Ione Elementary. And they are under the impression that they are going to be selling properties through the school district in order to fund the consolidation and the moving of all of these elementary schools to various locations, which at this point, I don't even know exactly where it is. That elementary school has been there. I mean, I've been here all my life. I think my sister started school there in '58, so it's been zoned a school zone, school district, for many, many years. And I want to keep it as such or not allow them to resell that property. I think we can bear our heels down on them as much as we can, the more the better. I wouldn't say that I agree, disagree with consolidation and what is going on. I get the whole thing with being financially, everything has to be done a certain way, and it may be the best thing for the school district to consolidate and to close schools. But Ione being as big as it is now, we do not deserve to lose another school. We do not deserve to lose another school, and they shouldn't be able to profit off of this city by selling that property, which could be a pretty good penny. So I just, again, I don't want to be the Grinch, but I just want to put it in the minds of council that don't rezone it. Don't rezone it. And maybe they'll change their mind. I think they're on the verge of changing their mind on all of this. Again, I'm not for or against consolidation. I just want to see them stop what they're doing, revisit it, and see if we can come up with a better plan that benefits the majority. And that's us. That's us. We're in the driver's seat right now. And I think we need to move forward and stay in the driver's seat. Thanks.
Thank you, Patty.
Patty.
Any other public comment not on the agenda? All right, we'll close public comment. Moving on to consent calendar. We'll get a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'd just like to pull item number 1, just for a quick discussion change.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second it.
First and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those ayes have it.
Do you want to do that now?
Yeah, go ahead and
Let me get to it. It's basically on the comments. Where'd it go? I don't have my fancy binder. I brought something up and then, I'll wait for Janice. Amy's response is beneath my comment, but it doesn't differentiate who's making the comment. So it was an inquiry about Wildflower. And then your response is under mine, but it looks like I said what you said. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just email me what it's supposed to be.
Well, here, let me find it.
Or I can
Here
go
it
back
is.
and listen to it.
Here.
Yeah.
It's under M on the, it's not page number, but there's where you're
Here.
talking, council comments committee.
Yeah, it's under M, under council comments. Have Dominic's, and then you have mine where I'm asking for an update on the 11 remaining homes to be built. And then beneath that, it says that Mr. Bork has not submitted the plans and it has passed the deadline. So maybe if that could show that, yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Dominic.
Sure.
Is that it?
On the consent calendar for me, yeah.
Okay. We want to make a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second,
We have first and second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Ayes have it. Okay, consent calendar warrants. We want to make a motion to approve the consent calendar warrants.
I'll make a motion to approve item G2.
Second.
We have first and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Moving on to election of mayor and vice mayor of the city of Ione. I personally would like to appoint Vice Mayor Jack Mitchell to mayor, being the vice mayor.
I'll nominate Allison LaFane for mayor.
I'll second that.
We have a first and a second for Allison to be mayor. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? No?
What do I do?
You can vote. You can vote. You can vote too, Jack.
Yeah, no, I voted aye. That's fine.
Aye.
Fine with Allison.
Who am I eyeing on? Me or you?
You.
You.
There's a motion on the floor.
Aye.
And I said, no, ayes have it, opposed. So here you go. There's the mayor.
That's just.
Congratulations. Now I can pick on you.
Oh, like you didn't pick on me?
Now you got it.
Congratulations, Madam Mayor.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Al.
Well, I want to.
Do I get a chair? Oh, that's good.
Your chair smells like aftershave.
I don't wear aftershave.
We need a motion for a vice mayor.
I'll nominate Diane Ratton for vice mayor.
I'll second.
You have
All
to
in
call-
favor? I forgot, it's me.
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed?
No.
Ayes have it.
No.
Are you abstaining?
No, I voted aye.
Okay, ayes have it. That's where I go. My agenda got scattered. Okay, moving on to, do we have public comment on that, Andy? I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions.
So those actions have been taken. We can move on to the next item.
All right. Public hearing. That's you, Andy.
Sure. So this is the Prop 218 hearing for the solid waste collection. All of the, I'm not going to reiterate, I won't read the staff report, I'll just hit the highlights. We worked with ACE and they are here tonight. And the notices have been sent out through the community. We've satisfied all of the notice requirements. There has not been a majority protest. So at this point in time, we'd recommend that you open up a public hearing. Folks from the public can come in, they can lodge their or opposition or protest vote through the end of the public hearing. Would have to be in writing, so we would write it down if they so choose. Once the public hearing has been concluded or conducted, everybody's had a chance to speak. We'll close the public hearing, then bring it back to the council. And what the council will be taking a vote on is accepting the rates as presented by ACE.
Okay. Anybody on Zoom, can they chime in or no? It's just viewing.
It's view only.
Okay. All right, we'll open up item number I for public comment.
It's or public hearing.
Public hearing
Public
comment.
hearing.
Right?
Same, it's same difference, different name. but same difference. But yes, public hearing is open. So anybody that would like to comment or protest against the ACES item for the increase in the solid waste collection, now would be the time.
I have no problem with that at all. One thing, I like ACES, they do a good job. They pick up my trash, they're really helpful. But I'm kind of surprised by how few things get recycled. And I don't know if it's different depending on what entity does it around the state. But it seems to me, like when I live in Sacramento, they'll pick up wine bottles, recycled beer cans. Why do I bring those to up first? I don't know. And here it seems like very few things are actually recycled. I could be wrong on this. I don't claim it to be perfect, but you do it right.
Not working.
Thank you. Yeah, testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, for our first song tonight. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just asking, can we recycle more stuff? Like the water jugs I get from the place up north by Mount Shasta. They always say you can recycle these things, but when I talk to the people there, they say, no, we don't recycle those. And again, I'm not speaking about stuff I know about. I'm just asking that the most we can recycle better. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Anyone else for comment on the public hearing?
So if there's no further comments, you can
Yeah.
close the public hearing.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and discussion at council.
So the recommendation from staff would be to adopt resolution 2023, approving the solid waste rate adjustments pursuant to Prop 218.
Okay. So we don't have discussion. We go right into the resolution vote.
Oh, that's our recommended action. You can discuss as a council and then go about, making a motion and taking action.
Any council comment?
Nope.
Nope.
To answer Mr. Quinn, I think he may have taken off his question on recycling. I'm familiar with ACES Waste Services, and part of the fees that you pay for, they do quite a bit of work behind the scenes as far as separating recycling. So while you may not think they are recycling, they're actually part of the fee you're paying is they're recycling it for you behind the scenes in separation. So it is being recycled. It's just you're not having to do it. They're kind of taking that on for you, which is part of the service they provide. So I would like to point that out. Hope that answers some of your questions. And I know the Molinellis, Paul Molinelli Sr., as well as Paul Molinelli Jr., pardon me, are here. Tommy, if you wanted to talk to them after, they can talk to you about their full process. It is an impressive group and an impressive system that they run. And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. With that being said, I'd say for Proposition 2, unless there's other discussion, I'm sorry, I'm jumping too soon. I'm sorry.
And there's going to be some additional recycling going on come 2026, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Food.
ACES folks?
Why do we do it?
Yes,
Sure.
yes, please.
Is that in regards to, I think you must.
The
be
food
referring-
waste and all of
Food
those
waste.
kinds of
Hi,
things.
Paul Molinelli Jr. for the record, ACES Waste Services. You must be referring to the
Yes,
SB 1383. Amador County is exempt through 2026.
2026. So after 2026,
So
will we
after
have some additional?
2026,
there'll be
will
additional
We will
recycling.
have to, right.
Okay.
Food waste will be included,
Mhm.
which will be costly and expenses will rise, but unless the exemption gets carried on, and at this point, we don't know if that's going to happen.
Yep.
So we're assuming it's not.
Right.
And
We have to run on the assumption that it's not.
Right.
Any more?
Nope.
Discussion?
Nope.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 2022-2023 asterisk approving solid waste rate adjustment pursuant to Prop 218.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Yeah, say something?
You may.
You may.
I think we sent out 2,100 protest letters, and we received two. I just want to toot our own horn. It's really a testimony to the women in our office staff who interact with our customers, our crews out on the road. They do a great job, and we do a good job. So that's an indication. I think we're talking today, since 218 has come to Amador County, and it's maybe 8 or 9 years. We can't, I think in the whole county, we've had less than 100 protests. So it's a testimony to the work we do, and thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
happy
you.
holidays
agree.
to all of you.
Same to you.
You want to take a short break, 5-minute recess?
Yes.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Thank you.
Oh, man, blame it anytime you want.
I don't know if you're happy about it or not.
Congratulations.
Heard why she was saying, let's take a break.
Congratulations or commiserations. Yeah.
Oh,
You too.
We'll get you that information.
Well,
Oh, you'll be.
trial by fire.
You'll get it.
It'll work. It'll be fine.
Oh, yeah.
Now what do I do?
Already back. I know, I'm gonna run a tight meeting.
And the city ran the plant for 18 years before we got the last operator, and then they ran it continued. I think everything was broken by the time the new guys got in. I mean, and it's 30 years old, like next year, which is the end of its life.
Thank you real quick.
What do you expect?
Thank you.
I hope it lasts 10 more years. I mean, it's. But it opened in 94. Well, that's when it started. It's probably, right now, it's probably its 30th birthday. I mean, it's 30 years old. Yeah, it's 30 years old. When the other guys got in, they complained about all the stuff, all the SCADA was broken, all the telemetry was broken. The service. I mean, I'm like there's throwing money, you guys, so it's like, they did complain about all the same stuff, but it's busted, and it was just like, oh, well, deal with it. Yeah, I just hope it can last. But you might want to together a plan, you know, like, and say, hey, on this plan to last 10 more years, what we're gonna have to do, so that we have the plan to budget. Because it's honestly, it's again, it out. It was state of the art for about 5 years. Right? When I went before all the ultraviolet, UV. So that was activated sludge, right? That's what that is. Yeah. So that was one of the best thing you could get at the time, activated sludge. You work at Mountain House. So that was perfect. So we went there, and that's what I wanted. You know, design, build, operated it. And I go, we want one of these. It's awesome. But then they say, or they want us to want us to wind up on the other. And so here we are. We could have had. I mean, when these guys are beating up on Perth, it's like, go see a plant that they built. You know what I mean?
just so you know.
Yeah.
Go take it by step. Don't take it by surprise. Like, we put a little pressure over there.
Congratulations.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Been there, done that.
Obviously, they're not even.
Amy,
they're
are
not
you,
even
talk to Andrea.
The mayor doesn't have to sit in the middle either, so you can sit anywhere you want. I like.
I didn't know if
I
they were
like-
shifting around or not. She may want to shift.
No, I don't want to shift, because then
Ah.
I have limited space then. See, I get all
She's
this.
waiting for me to knock her off when I do the pledge of allegiance and turn around every time I'm like,
I don't want to sit there because I always have to kiss the flag every time I say the pledge. It seems extremely inappropriate to be that close to it.
bye-bye.
They're not.
Okay. I'll wait for Janice. Okay, we're gonna move along to item J, which is on the regular agenda. I'm not quite sure how to do this, Andy.
I don't have
Like,
any.
talk to you. I don't know.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was gonna go and ask, but they seem to be moving out.
Yeah. And you tell me how to do this. I see that this is for information only. On the recommendation for Wildflower subdivision. I would like to open this up for council discussion. I know Mr. Borg is here and just for discussion and possibly action and direction moving forward. This has gone on for years, and the immediate need here is if it gets delayed any longer, we won't have homes going in the spring. And it's just been delay after delay after delay, and I would really just like to just get things taken care of. So,
So-
I'm not quite sure how to do that.
What I'd recommend at this point is, staff's got a presentation prepared.
Okay.
Council's gonna have ample opportunity to be able to ask staff questions.
Okay.
So that's Jonathan here that's gonna be talking to y'all. There will be, you have the ability to have a public comment. So anybody can give you all information. As far as taking action, depends on what you're talking about, doing. I don't think that we'd have to look at, because the way the Brown Act works is if it's on here, it says update on Wildflower subdivision. We want to be able to give the public the notice so that they know what we're going to be doing. So if you're giving simple directions to staff to say, work with so-and-so, or, why don't you go back and get some more information, bring it back to council, that's going to be no problem. If it's going to get into any other situation where we're going to be doing something that is, I can't come up with something off the top of my head, but something that would be that, wouldn't necessarily fit underneath this agenda description. I think we take that as it comes. So maybe just ask the question, can we take the action? I'll give you my advice.
Yeah, I mean, right now, we don't know if it's on the streets. We don't know if it's on the building permits. We don't.
Let's hear.
I
the
don't know what it
business.
is.
I think
Okay,
Jonathan
I
has a
just
lot.
wanted to preface the agenda item. Okay, thank you, Jonathan.
Honorable Mayor, members of City Council, good evening. So we do have quite a bit to cover tonight. I don't have a PowerPoint, so it's probably one of my first times before you where I don't. But we do have quite a few items to cover. It's regarding Unit 1, Unit 2, and Unit 3 of Wildflower. So the first thing I'd like to start with is just an update, kind of a refresh from our August 1st meeting, which was much like this. It was an update, but it was also informing council of action that staff had taken, specifically a letter regarding deficient work in the Wildflower subdivision sent to Axios Homes in July. And so I'm just gonna just bring this up as an item here. So August 1st, we came to council, and I'm gonna give just a high level summary here. and then we're going to move into each item on each unit and hopefully some next steps here that can provide some from action. So stepping through this, first thing is on the August 1st, the update was regarding primarily with Unit 3. And we had a subdivision agreement in place, which currently at that time and currently still, there is the subdivision is in breach of the subdivision agreement. It was executed in 2020, July. There was 24 months for the improvements in that subdivision agreement to be constructed to the satisfaction of the city for acceptance. To this point, that has not been completed. And that was the case back in July of this year. Based on that, we sent a letter, and it outlined the work, which primarily was infrastructure that did not complete in a good workmanlike manner, street settlement in various locations throughout the subdivision, concrete settlement, curb gutter, sidewalk, and areas throughout Wildflower subdivision. And that was specifically to Unit 3. The letter did also cite Unit 2, and we can get into those details later if we want to dive into that. It also called for a 30-day response from the developer to the city to prepare a work plan to address that. And we did receive a response from Axios Homes. And based on that response, we had a meeting in September with city staff and developer representatives. From that meeting, we outlined some steps to move forward on behalf of the developer and with the city. And to this point, we've been working together to come to some resolutions. And this is an update for that. So that's getting us where we are today.
What steps did you discuss? What are they?
So it's a great question. So there's many here. So I'm going to go ahead and start with, and we're going to expand the scope here past Unit 3 as well tonight. We're going to go into Unit 1 and Unit 2 because there's a couple of ancillary items that weren't on the August meeting at that time that we can address tonight that we sent.
Is it better to just let you do your whole presentation and come back?
Yeah, we'll come back.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm going to go ahead. We'll start with. I'm going to go ahead and start with Unit 3 since we've talked about that a little bit. And at this point, so Unit 3 is the item where we have the subdivision agreement that we're currently in violation, and Unit 3 is the area that we had discussed in August during our council meeting then. Now with that, after the developer coming together with the city, we outlined a plan that essentially acknowledged that we're in the rainy season and it doesn't make sense to open up the earth and the road right now to make subgrade repairs and introduce more water below the pavement. But it does make sense to have, first of all, a detailed plan so we know where we're going with it, and make any exploitation that we can do now, agreements, investigations, study the situation, which we have done. And we have been in communication with Axios Homes on that, who has worked with us to present a solution that would involve a detailed survey. And so it's basically a topographic survey, but at a very high level of detail. So we can see essentially the contours of the pavement and where it's settling precisely. So we're not limited to just our observation while we're walking on the road. And we think that's a sensible solution moving forward. It's something that the developer has committed to performing in the month of January, the early part of the month of January. And the intent there is we'd also follow up after the rainy season, which would be approximately month of May, and perform the same survey again. Again, the same level of detail. And we would compare the survey completed in January, so kind of mid pre-rainy season into the month of May, and see if we still see movement. And that'll be some data points that we can collect. So in other words, is it still settling? Have we seen some settlement? That's going to give us a little bit of a window into what's going on subgrade. And at that point also, it'll allow us to make decisions based on that. What type of investigations do we want to go? Do we want to take continued samples? Do we want to open up the earth in a couple areas? We've discussed with the developer perhaps doing a trial section where we make some repairs in a certain area based on our understanding of what's the movement is, what the water flow is subgrade, and we can see how that performs before we make repairs across all of the subdivision unit that requires it. And so that's currently what our track is. So one step at a time, we collect the data. We know we don't want to open up the road in the rainy season. We compare that post rainy season. We make decisions based on the engineering investigations and the data that is provided to the city at that time, and we continue to move forward. And at this point, we're moving together as partners is the intent here. That we be quick, that we continue to communicate very closely with one another, and we make decisions accordingly so that we can make this correction as quickly as possible after the rainy season. That's unit 3. And so maybe the best thing would be just in context of this update, to open this up for kind of questions and dialogue on unit 3 specifically before we go into an update on unit 1 and unit 2. And also when we go into unit 1 and unit 2, we're going to start to get into a little bit of discussion about building code review and this type of thing. And so that's going to be a separate discussion.
Have you figured out what caused this yet?
We don't know. And yeah, the short answer is no. We don't know what's causing it. And, you know, also from the city engineering standpoint, the onus is really, it's kind of this, it's a difficulty understanding. So there's many things that we've looked at. You know, the developers talk to their sub-consultants, construction subs, as well as geotech. We've looked at, you know, what data we have as a city. We've talked to partners that were, you know, present during the construction as well. And it's almost a equal number of opinions with those that have seen the data. And so it's, you know, in this thing, we do see it, especially we had some pretty record rain last year. And not just in the city of Ione here, but regionally, we've seen some similar types of development. And so at this point, you know, it's really difficult to ascertain what that cause is. We do see that there are some trends out there in terms of where the settlement is. You know, it does follow laterals, but it also follows mains. So it's settlement. It does look like it's trenching related, you know, and so we can learn more when we can excavate as well.
Unit 3 is which streets? Is that Honeysuckle or?
That's right.
The far end of Clover. And so that's where you think you're going to do your testing? Or you'll open it up?
That's right. Unit 3 is the area that we've identified has the issues at this point. Unit 2 is, I'll just quickly address Unit 2 in this context.
Okay.
And in our letter in July, we did identify Unit 2, and that was based on written correspondence that we had with the developer during construction, and it cited some items that needed repair in Unit 2. It's kind of similar kind of observations of compaction, this type of thing. And what we understand is that those repairs were made to Unit 2. And just to circle this back, we've asked the developer to provide evidence of those repairs or statements that the repairs have been made, maybe photos, just evidence that the repairs were in fact made. And then we can inspect that through Unit 2 and confirm that that is the case. And that would, that's a separate path for Unit 2. But Unit 3 is something where we have a history of, you know, correspondence outside of that single instance. And it's also something that we can observe right now with many items across the segments there that we need to address. So a little different there between Unit 2 and Unit 3. Unit 2 may be resolved, in other words, just through evidence from the developer field review, where Unit 3 definitely requires further action.
When you said mains and laterals, you talking about water agency pipes or sewer pipes?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. It's both.
Or both.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've got some, you know, some sewer laterals out there. And if you walk the road, you can actually see, you know, some signs, some cracking along both laterals, and you can follow them out to the mains. So it just kind of, it's indicative that there's an issue with subgrade for both those utilities.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah,
that's it. So,
well, we need to identify the problem so we can get it fixed.
That's exactly right. And that's why we did cite that. And we have been working with Axios Homes in that regard. And we do have, you know, it's reasonable to take a high level detailed survey in the winter months. That's an action that we can take now where we don't expose subgrade to more water inflow.
Any other questions on?
That's correct. I just want to reassert that we have not accepted the improvements in unit 3. I didn't catch that was the
Unit
question.
3 or unit 2?
In unit 3. Or unit 2. Yeah, processing there. Thanks.
Okay. But you're moving towards it in unit 2.
We're definitely a lot closer. It's possible that, if we can get some resolution, then we could accept unit 2 based on the process that I just described. Yeah.
Any other questions on unit 2 or 3?
Okay, so on that front, then I'd like to go into unit 1 and then also unit 2 in a different context.
Okay.
So unit 1 is we've got a couple items that we're aware of on the city side, and one of those is that we have 2 building plans that have been submitted for review, and just to give you a little context, this is something that we're unfolding. The time scale is pretty quick. Our last update was in August, and a lot of these details require quite a bit of back and forth, as well as a little bit of excavation, if you will, into previous emails, before the current administration and before my time, because some of this happened quite a long time ago. So up to this afternoon, I'm going to say that Mr. Thomas Borg and I spent a couple hours this afternoon spending a great deal of time going back. We also had a conference call with Mr. John Wanger, who was the previous city engineer, and he was the city engineer during the time when unit 1 questions were being discussed. And so we have been able, as of a couple hours before the council meeting tonight, uncover some emails where Axios Homes had submitted some plans back in December of 2022 to John Wanger's group, which was Coastland Engineering, who was the previous city engineer. And so the question here, and this is new information, so we haven't had an opportunity to review these emails in detail with the building department. I'm not the building official, so this is a building official decision. But the city team needs to evaluate these emails and look at them. But I will say that looking at these emails, it looks like there was a submittal made back before the end of 2022. And the question on these plan reviews is whether or not the 2019 building code versus the 2022 building code would apply for the plan check. And so what we were looking to do as a city is just establish precedents for that. So in other words, can we find some evidence that the plans were submitted prior to the end of 2022? And if so, that dictates which building code would be applicable, in the most simple form. And so until this afternoon, we didn't have evidence of that. And so now we do have some emails that we need to review to determine if that's going to make the case to go back to the 2019 building code. And so I think what I'm reporting here is good news. Once again, this is status, this is progress, just like we reported on unit 3, that we have action that we're moving forward with. And in the same light on unit 1 here, we have these submittal emails, and that really may give us an opportunity to move forward with this plan check based on 2019 building code. And if that's the case, once again, that would be a resolution on that item.
And what kind of timeline are we looking on for that resolution?
I would anticipate that would be very, very quick. So again, we just got this information in today. Haven't had an opportunity to forward that to the building department yet. But talking to Mr. Borg here before the council meeting, we discussed our availability being as soon as tomorrow. Perhaps we could get together a conference call, review it with the building department. We can make a decision. If we could make that decision this week, then we could immediately begin plan check if that's the request by the developer to submit. And then if they do submit for review based on that, then What I would propose is we come back to council again for an update on all of this. Near future, so probably 6 weeks, say, for example, a little bit tighter than our last schedule in August. To give us enough time to say, okay, have we, what happened? You know, what was the resolution here? And in 6 weeks' time, I anticipate we'd be able to report that if in fact we had a resolution on that, then we'd have a completed plan review. So that would be quick.
6 weeks is quick.
Well,
Did we accept 2022 building code?
Mhm.
We did?
No,
Yeah.
I don't think we have.
It's
have we?
automatic. I
Well, the
believe
state takes precedent, right? I mean, once they pass it, we all get it whether we like it or not.
Yeah, it's effective. And again, not the building official here, so I'm gonna speak to it, but yeah, and 6 weeks being quick, we can certainly expedite that plan
In
check. It
6
could be,
weeks, we're gonna be into February.
Yeah.
We had this conversation in September, though, with all due respect to Mr. Board, to provide this information, and we just got it today.
Well, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I'm just saying
I'm just
6
saying
weeks is into February.
And I
And
think we're talking about different timeframes for 6 weeks. He's saying to
Yeah.
come back with the survey, the other items to provide an overall wildflower update.
yeah, not indicating that it takes 6 weeks to review the plans. That was just a proposal on coming back to council. The last time we came to council was in August 1st. And so here we are at the end of the year, and my proposal was that we'd be a little bit more aggressive, understanding we've got the holidays here for a couple weeks. And then the other thing about when I say 6 weeks, it's kind of interesting. So when you're going to council, as you know, of course, we're a week, at least 2 weeks, 1 week to 2 weeks ahead. So when we start doing our council report, we're 2 weeks away from the council meeting. So when I say 6 weeks to council, that means 4 weeks of actual working time. And then if you subtract out a week for Christmas, that's 3 weeks of actual items. Now, I'm not saying we're not working through Christmas, but the time frame is really condensed here. And then at that point, you're looking at the last time that these plans were checked were by a different engineering firm. And so we'll check these plans, we'll review them. And, maybe we can check through and get all this done in 1 week. I'm not making a commitment to that. And one interesting fact to point out is the submittal hasn't been established. In other words, we haven't seen them with the authorization to go ahead and proceed with this plan check, because we haven't established whether or not it's going to be applicable under the 2019 building code or the 2022 building code. And so one thing that
They
would
were
really,
submitted to the prior engineer timely. So.
well, it wasn't, I wouldn't say timely or not
well,
timely. They were just,
within before January 1.
they were submitted in, well, yeah, and we could go through into the history there, but we have some emails that kind of show that we have submittals in December of 2022.
For these plans to the existing.
That's right.
Engineer. So just take a leap of faith with me here. They did submit them timely for use of the 2019 plan. I don't know why Coastland didn't review them.
Well, it's not a black and white submittal either. That's why I want to rely on our staff to discuss this, the building official and the building department to review it. Like I said, there's some details that we were able to uncover in the correspondence, but it's not black and white. It's not just that clean. And so.
Well, Mr. Wanger didn't give you any clarity as to that he had them and when he had them?
So regarding we can delve into this a little bit. So, but also I just want to address this plan. So I haven't looked at these plans yet.
I understand.
So I can't tell you how fast I can review those plans.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to get to where the plans are, and as far as the city is concerned, if John Wanger had the plans and he was the city engineer and the plan checker at the time, then the submittal would be timely for the 2019. And if Mr. Wanger not give you any clarity that he did in fact have them in that time frame?
There's a couple of other issues there, though. And this
Okay,
is.
I'm trying to simplify, I may be simplifying this.
There's a couple of other issues that need to warrant discussion. Is plans typically expire. We hadn't heard from Mr. Borg. The last conversation we had with him about these plans was in September when we talked about the improvements. And we said, he made his case, as you are trying to make that same case, like to say, well, I submitted them. And we said, we understand that. So then prove that and we'll go back and look at it. And we just heard about this today. So we have not discussed, except a few phone calls that Jonathan's made today after talking with Mr. Board, but we sent a letter in September stating all of this. And so that's where we are right now, is we are bringing forward an update, but we just got news of this today. So after we submitted a letter to him in September, so there's
Okay,
been
well,
time
but
to
Jonathan
collect.
did say he had a conversation with John Wenger, so that's why,
Correct. So
that's why I
all
was
we
asking the
need is-
question.
so that's why he's giving himself a hedge on the 6 weeks. That's why, to go back and get the information, go back and get the detail from John Wenger, et cetera. Again, this was literally at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah, it was about 2 hours before a council meeting, 1 hour of which I had to drive here. So we're not talking about a lot of time for technical review here.
I'm just.
So-
Yeah, I'm not asking you, I'm not saying you reviewed the plans. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to understand where the plans are in play at this
And
point.
we were
Yeah.
never informed of any of those plans.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what happened between December and March.
We don't know. We weren't here.
Nobody, Coastland was still here.
Yeah. That's,
Coastland
So-
was doing inspection too. There was a transition with our building department also, I believe.
But that was in
March,
April, March.
April, wasn't it?
No.
Because Coastland had we're continuing to do our plans up until,
But as we said, we don't know. We're researching it
Well,
and that was what we've been
The
trying
fact
to
that we
dis-
don't know is troubling, that there's 4 or 5 months there.
yeah, that aren't accounted
Better-
for, but.
If
Well,
I could-
but that, I,
What's the question? I may have the details. That's what I'm here to answer. I just want to make sure that the question is presented so I can answer it.
Where did the ball get dropped?
from December and when the plans were submitted.
Yeah, so, that would be interesting. So we did take over as city engineer right around that time. I think it was actually November, I believe, in 2022. I'm not stating that for fact. I can't remember exactly, but I think it was roughly at
right.
that time. And so,
but our plan checks were still being done by Coastland at that point.
yeah, we don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Presumably, that would have been a decision made by the city management team at that time. But I know that we weren't directed to perform plan check
Right.
at that point. And so, they went in, we know that we were, and also there's kind of it's, like I said, it's not just very definitive on what, so for example, there's two building plans for 2 buildings that were submitted in December of 2022. But so that's unit 1 that we're talking about. But in unit 2, there's 11 lots that are proposed for review under the same building code item. And so may as well kind of blend this into the same discussion here tonight or this evening. And so, but unit 2, the plans, so the unit 1, those 2 lots or 2 building plan submittals was very clear. It was an email directed to Coastland in December of 2022. And we have that now, right before the meeting. So that's something that we know about now. And I would say that's good. We've asked for this information for a long time. We've asked for evidence that the plans were submitted. We've asked that a case be made for the plans being submitted before December 30th of 2022. And we've been, working to get that information and now we have it. So that's regarding the 2. But then we have the 11 lots over in unit 2, and the details are a little bit different. So we have, right now we have one email that discusses a submittal, but it isn't a submittal. And so that's why I say that the facts, this is something that we have to review as a team with the building official. So unless we get into the weeds there, but what I'm saying with the 11 lots, we don't actually have evidence of a submittal, but we have discussion of a submittal. And so, if that's reasonable, if we look at this together, we kind of read through it, if the city can make a decision on if that is a submittal, which code is going to apply, that's the kind of discussion that needs to happen.
Okay, and you will be including in that discussion Coastland, since they were the person that should have been, they were submitted to.
He's been very helpful.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Coastland's been very helpful throughout the process. So
So they'll be part of that discussion for unit 2 and the 11 properties.
as needed, yes, that's right.
And you think it'll be 6 weeks before you'll be able to get back and have an answer to that, or is
No,
it
my
6 weeks
recommend-
just come back to us?
Yeah, my recommendation was that in order to keep this as recognizing the critical nature of this item, to have a more frequent update to council. That was the 6-week recommendation. It was not tied to any review period or analysis period or anything like that. Just that we come back to council earlier than later.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah, I think there's, instead of trying to find who's at fault, there's been a change of engineer, change of building inspector, change of planner, change of city manager, the finance, everything. And so these things are going to happen. I mean, all at that critical time, but the plans were either submitted or trying to be submitted a year ago now. So I just would like to get this thing expedited. This is where I'm coming from. And I'm not really interested in, who did what or when. At the end of the day, I'd like to see, the build out of the villages so we can get our fees and move on. So it's, let's just keep moving on this if you can, that'd be great.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That has been our priority in reaching a resolution here, which is why we initiated the communication to get this information.
So there's still gray area as to where at least the 11 homes, what building code they're going to fall under?
Well, it's not, I'm not speaking as a building official tonight. So unless there's a statement from the building official, there's a gray area. And there hasn't even been time to transmit this data to the building department at this point.
But that process, your review and all of that is not going to take 6 weeks. That part is going to take, I mean, that's going to take you, you're going to meet, you said tomorrow you'll be talking with the plan.
Oh, yeah, the decision on whether or not we can move forward under which building code.
Right.
Yeah, I would, again, not being the decision maker.
Right.
But
Fair.
I would think that it's straightforward, based on what we have, and we should be able to expedite a decision, really quickly.
Great.
But again, I'm not the one that make that decision. And we have to evaluate as a team as well, because there's a few factors involved there. So, yeah.
Okay.
If the decision is made for 2019, does that relieve the developer to move forward?
My discussion with Mr. Borg has been that if we are moving under the 2019, reviewing under the 2019 building code, that he will be submitting for review.
Under 2019.
That's correct, yeah. Which is why the plans have not been
Got
reviewed.
several moving parts here.
Yeah, the plans have not been reviewed at this point because there hasn't been a request to review them.
Coastland didn't review them? We don't know.
Coastland has not reviewed them.
Okay.
Yeah, we know that.
Just answer them.
Well, I'm sort of along the line with Dominic. The quicker the better.
Agreed. Yeah.
Wildflower has just taken it for years and years and years, and it would be nice to get the streets fixed, to get those homes in and move forward. Mr. Borg,
We do public comment at this point, or?
Is it public comment?
Yeah, I think
don't do it.
Jump on them. We'll just.
Entirely up to the chair.
First, today was major progress. I will say that. And that was because we were on the phone with John Wanger. And what I've been begging for, a letter and for some backup emails that Ms. Gedney had requested, we couldn't provide because it didn't come from us. And it had to come from several offices because some of the things get submitted to the Grass Valley office, or it goes to Petaluma office, or it goes to Sonoma office. And he had to find a lot of those things within his own organization. And today on the phone, when Jonathan asked for something, he said, "Oh, here's the email," and sent it to Jonathan. And in all fairness to Jonathan, working really hard to try and get to a point where he's going on an email or some correspondence that he has in writing, and he has to rebuild the whole scenario. The unit number 2 issue really comes down to when we had run the compaction before we were going to pave unit number 2, we had a few soft spots, which means it didn't meet compaction. We needed to go ahead and have a fix from our geotechnical engineer And he says, you know, we need to put some geogrid down, we need to recompact, we need to retest. When you get that done, come see us, we'll go ahead and do that. He's asking for proof that it was fixed. If it wasn't fixed, we would have never had the authorization to pave the street. And we paved the street, and obviously we know that all the improvements are done because the city would have never issued our first building permit in unit number 2 if in fact all the improvements weren't done. So those are kind of things that he sees, and it's really not fair to him to go ahead and say, hey, this is fast and this is not fast. He's, you know, got 3 or 4 emails in the matter of our conversation with John Wanger, and he hasn't had a chance to read them 100%. I think he did get established that he did receive some emails that said, we did what we were supposed to do, or what we were instructed to do from the previous city manager, which also has been verified from Michael Rock, that we were going to go ahead and use Coastland because they had already done unit 5, unit 4, unit 3, unit 2. And why would we start somebody else who knows nothing about the subdivision for the last unit? So I think in all fairness to staff, and the staff that actually just brand new and is hired after the fact, we do the best we possibly can. Wildflower, you know, we've completed 204 homes. We have 276 homes. We've lost some momentum because of the interest rates and different things. We used to sell 1 or 2 plus a week. Now we sell 1 or 2 a month. We are going to be in desperation though if we don't do something now, based on the fact that we're out of lots, and it takes 4 or 5 months, 6 months to go ahead and produce lots and produce homes. And we'll be out. We have four houses in inventory right now. That's it. And we are not building anything. So any support that we get from the city is great help. We'll continue to do whatever we can do. There's a lot of different things that he's touched on that need to, you know, be clarified, that he can go ahead and work it. We're working good. We have great communication together, and I think we'll be in a positive, you know, on a positive road here in a very short period of time. And I think once he can get through the emails to show that those submissions were made, and we do have some confusion on whether, you know, the Coastland was still supposed to be doing plot plans and what have you. And if they're willing to go ahead and take those plans in for unit number 1, that also leads us down the path of completing the infrastructure in unit number 1, which we really need to have so we can make the final cuts in the Foothill Boulevard main thoroughfare road, so we can get that done. And then we can go ahead and put in our second lift of asphalt and really finish the product that we want to finish. Our, you know, Axios is committed to produce the best possible subdivision we possibly can that will enhance the city of Ione, which is what we will do. We will make sure that we make it right on the city. We've had some letters circulated from our underground contractor from their insurance company who is on board. They have given us a suggestion on a fix. Also is a situation to see, is there still movement or is there not still movement? It will lead us to the solution that has to be done to go ahead and fix that. And once we get it fixed, we would ask the city to go ahead and accept the improvements, and then still have the luxury of their 1-year warranty that they still have. And I think that will go ahead and be able to give everybody at least another wet winter to know that something's not going to fail again. And unit number 2 right now, there are no imperfections in the road. So I think that those will speak for itself, and we want to make sure we don't make the same mistake, and we won't be using the same subcontractor in unit number 1 if and when we do put that online. We do have to make a $2 million commitment to go ahead and put the infrastructure in unit number 1. But we want to do that to be committed to making sure that the road that we did and the intersection that we pulled off with Caltrans will actually be a great amenity. And then we actually have the community that we really wanted to have. And I don't know if the ladies hear about the school district, but I know it's been misconstrued that the developer next door is trying to buy the school. We can dispel that myth. There's no way I have enough energy or life left to go from a school zoning to a RD5, especially when there's already a tentative map subdivision continuous to my own. So anyway, is there any other questions that we can entertain?
Well, thank you. I'm glad that you guys are working together and
Yeah.
moving forward. That's great news.
It is.
Thank you for your support always.
Do we open that up for
Yeah.
public comment?
Oh, yeah.
I'll open up for public comment on Wildflower subdivision.
Hi. I heard about the problem a while back. I don't remember the exact date, and I was curious before one of the city council meetings, what's going on out there? I happen to know something about the business and what likely can fail. With all respect to Mr. Borg, the problem's a little bit more deep. I went out there and immediately you can spot what the problem is. It's the water utilities, the laterals, and somewhat the main. And I'm not surprised if it extended into the sewer. It's a little deeper, so it's not going to show up as fast. But I came back and I asked Janice, can I see the plans and specifications? Because it's in the backfill of the utilities. And before she could respond, Stacy walked out and said the backfill was crushed rock. And again, immediately it's like, did they have a geotextile around that? And you said no. So without seeing any of the documentation, the failures are the product of gravity pulling the fines into the voids of crushed rock. Over time, it'll begin to subside. It'll never completely stop. It'll just go slower and slower and slower. But the real problem is you can't use crushed rock around plastic pipe. The vibration going through the water line will actually saw a hole in the pipe. And you won't discover that until you actually have a sinkhole in the street. And it'll take, sometimes it doesn't take long at all, but it will occur, guaranteed. It will happen with 100% certainty. So when you talk about repaving it, you're not addressing a fundamental problem that it's going to destroy the water system. What caused it was the subcontractor deviated from his submittal, from his approved material that he's supposed to use. It's 100% on the subcontractor who did the work. I don't know. I mean, if he departed, he's got to have some sort of authorization to do that. And I can assure you that didn't happen. I'm curious as to why he even tried it, because this is an amateur water agency facility, and they are tough on the kind of materials they're supposed to use. Now, you still need to address exactly what the problem is, and having a repaving program isn't doing that. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to review your plans and specifications or the documentation for a departure from the plans and specifications. But there's a submittal process, and apparently it wasn't followed. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on the Wildflower division?
Dave Livingstone, Wildflower. I have a question. The gentleman referred to the decision maker. And my question is, who is the ultimate decision maker, and why isn't that person here tonight?
I was here when they tried changing to the crushed rock, and if Wanger was here and I told him that it's got to be AB, and he come back a week after, because you guys didn't vote on it, and he says it will be AB. I'd like to know who and why we use crushed rock on some of this. And I'd like to know if Village, I believe it's 8, if they didn't use crushed rock in it too, and the one on Shakely Lane. I'd just like to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Any other public comment on Wildflower subdivision? No, close public comment? Discussion, or did we pass that?
Yeah, so I think staff has clear direction, and they'll go ahead and bring it back in accordance with the report, and then you can move on to J2 when you so choose.
Okay. Now we're moving on to item number 2, first quarter 2023-2024 budget update.
Well, I'll do my introduction. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. Tonight we'll be presenting our first quarter financial statement. In front of you is the reports that are going to be up on the screen.
Thank you for printing them out.
Oh, you're welcome.
'Cause I can't see sideways here.
I'll see if you still feel that way when I tell you how to orient the second report, but it'll make sense once we go through it. Yep. So I'm going to start with revenues, my favorite. So the first report we're going to look at is the one that's called the revenues with comparison to budget. And just to let you know how this report works, the top is the general fund, and it's each section is going to have a fund name. And then on the right is going to be the account numbers. So everything underneath the general fund is the things that are paying for all the general fund expenditures. And as you can see, there's a total at the bottom for each of the funds. And this is pretty detailed. It gives you a list of all the different revenue sources that we have. For your information, we receive property taxes usually the beginning of January, beginning of May. So those are not obviously going to hit our first quarter revenue. Sales tax usually are delayed about 2 months. So there's only 1 month hitting this report. And as I said, each page, the next page, oh yeah, she got it up there, is the gas tax. It breaks down all our gas tax revenue, sewer fund. You can pretty much see the process and how we orient the report. And it just goes through all the revenue that we have received compared to the budget, and it kind of gives you a percentage. That one is going to be the easy one to follow. I'm just going to go to the second one, then we can go back and ask questions. To orient the second report, it's a wide report and it goes pages 1, 2, 3 across. And then there's A, B, C, D up top. That's going to help you kind of keep it in order. Although it's still going to take some room for you, but you'll get it. And then 4, 5, and 6 is below. And how this works once again is, I'm just going to do my first page of each. Page 1 and page 4 is my left-hand column is all the different departments. Across the top is all the different funds. And then we broke it down by employee services, operating expenses, capital expenses for each department. Do you guys kind of have an idea how this works and how it looks?
Got it.
The other part, a couple things is first quarter reports. Have some extra things we pay in the first quarter. We pay our liability insurance right up front. We pay our CalPERS liability right up front because that's how they're billed. And actually the CalPERS, we save some money by paying it in one lump sum instead of over throughout the year. So that does make some of the percentages a little bit higher than you might see. The other things you might see that are lower is the city council. Your first payroll in July was actually for June. So it only shows 2 months, same with city treasurer, those kind of things. So the hope is that we have 25% every quarter. But obviously, especially first quarter, the way that things are timed, it doesn't always look that way, but it does give me an opportunity if I see something out of whack to go look at it, make sure the numbers are in there, make sure we didn't mispost, clean things up before we present it to you guys. I don't know if you have any.
So to that, I just want to add a couple things.
Okay,
Jody.
thanks.
So our software that we use is called Cassell, and learning the financial software is an undertaking. So Jody and Andrea had gone to training and to learn to do the software, and they've just recently learned some additional things that we can do to export from Cassell and have more up-to-date information, because this is actually from September 30th. At your next meeting, we will have the mid-year budget. So we think we'll be ready for that. But there's a number of things to point out here, and that is every single expenditure hits a fund. So there is a code on every single expenditure that the city spends that goes directly back to some department. I said fund, but at first, but it's a department. And then that expenditure is based on how we do the allocations when we adopt the budget. So that's how it spreads across each fund. So there's a rhythm to it, but there's also a lot of detail that goes into it when you're adopting or approving the warrants every month. All of those codes are outlined in the warrants as to how those expenditures go back and hit each of those departments.
Okay. And I should have mentioned that we went ahead and you'll see that the very first column after the department name is the total of all funds. So if you go across and you can see how each fund is allocated. A lot of them are very simple, city council, 100% general fund, but some are like admin, we spread out. If you look at the admin, we are in multiple funds, and then you can see how much out of each fund is allocated for admin. Same with the restricted fire and fire. We have those allocations, and then you can see them in the budget. And like she says, it kind of follows what you see when you see the warrants, why there's multiple lines underneath payables, because we're allocating it to different funds.
And so moving forward, what we'll be bringing forward to you is for example, in our agenda tonight, you have the cash accounts that we have, or the cash amounts that we have in all accounts. So there's 12 or $13 million. That is not all in one fund. That's spread across all of these funds that we have, that we budget against. So it's we anticipate that we'll show you, in addition to that monthly amount, we'll also show you how much is in each fund. So you'd say, okay, there's $10 million in some capital project fund, and there's $1 million in the general fund, so that you'll know exactly how much is in each one of those funds. That's an important determination when doing the budget. So that we don't overspend per fund.
Yeah, and we are starting to create that. It just wasn't quite ready. So we're gonna have that hopefully at the next January mid financial year. You can really get an idea of how much is in general fund, gas tax, all the different funds. You'll have not just what was spent, but where our balances as of that date.
Your column B
Yes.
that is the total that's allocated and cut through all of these funds
Right.
in
Across.
one total
Yes.
for the total. And if I take all of these cuts in all of these, they will add up to that total.
Yes.
Okay. Can I make a request to get this in an electronic version? Because it's way easier to read than. I need a bigger area, and Jack would be. Jack already moving into Jack's area.
Trail up here.
Yeah, but that's okay. I can live with that. I can make that bigger or smaller to suit my fancy.
Part of the packets, obviously, going forward, we were just trying to clean up some data, make sure we could get as accurate as we could. Came up before you.
Oh, it's very good.
Dominic?
No. Thank you for doing that.
I may, once I get a chance to digest. Yes, please. If you would email me the Excel version, that would be fantastic.
Jack?
Nope, good.
Good job.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you, Joey.
Okay, next we have, we do public comment on that?
Not necessary.
No, not necessary. Okay. Next we have reports and communications from our prestigious city manager.
Oh, actually,
attorney.
attorneys first, prestigious city
I
attorney.
mean, city attorney, sorry. It's
That's getting late, I know.
I'll have a moment to spend with y'all a little bit later, but publicly just wanted to say Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, and have safe, and as well to the city of Ione and its residents.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Andy. It's been fun.
I agree.
We'll see you next year.
That's right.
Reports and communications from city manager.
I just have two things I want to report on. So the school consolidation, EIR is out. We will have a report presented to you, or a draft letter from all city departments, or the city departments that are commenting, presented to you at your next meeting. It's been a very frustrating process for those who have been attending the meeting. So last week they had the public there was a school board meeting on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, there was a meeting. Our planner attended, John Gedney attended, and they did not accept public comment unless it was in writing. And so they had to write out every single question they wanted to ask for it to be addressed. The other thing that is a little bit frustrating is a 45-day window is very short, and it's also over the holiday season, which also makes it a little bit tight for review, but we are determined to get our review in, and we will have that at your January, did I say 19th, 16th meeting?
Yeah.
When is it due to them?
At the end of January.
The end, so not the 15th from,
Correct.
okay, not the 15th of January.
Correct. And then one other comment is, we have canceled our January 2nd meeting. So our next meeting will be January 16th. I have it 19th.
Yeah, I
So
think it says 19th in there.
does it? It's the 16th. I don't, anyway, and that's all I have.
So I would, since the public has not had the opportunity to see this thing in any shape or form, I would actually like the Ione City Council to put on a meeting, a special meeting where the EIR is presented. And I would be happy to think we should invite the entire county because I'm almost sure nobody else is going to be able to see it either. The school district's being very cagey about how they're presenting this.
But just for the purposes of the city, the EIR it's generated through the school district. So they go through and they're doing all the public noticing. Any city correspondence with it or interaction with it would be to provide the cities. So you're looking for the public to provide comment to you that you can incorporate into your comment.
Correct.
Okay.
I will work with our planner to get that scheduled.
Yeah, I think and I think it would be very well received by the public.
Yeah, I agree.
I've had several people ask me, how are we going to ever get to see this thing?
It's posted on the school website, but to break it down is cumbersome.
Yeah, and it
Be
seems
fair.
like there's a lot of moving parts within the city of Ione.
Well, there's a
These
lot of moving
people are
parts with the
doing
school
it,
district.
These people are doing it, these people are doing it.
Oh, so one meeting is.
Yeah. Maybe to sort of consolidate and identify where's everything's moving.
I think it'll be, our city planner will be able to
Okay.
kind of bring that
Okay.
forward.
Council comments, committee reports, future agenda items. Dominic?
Wanted to touch on the school EIR, like to agree with Diane on that. Having a meeting, also what we heard this morning, earlier this evening about rezoning elementary. We talked about this about a year ago when this first came up. I actually spoke to Thomas Borge when, the school district lied when they said that they had been talking to the developer. I went to him the next day and I said, are you really going to buy an elementary property? And he said, no, that's crazy. So anyway, it's zoned for government use. I think it would be nice if we did a resolution ASAP that it's government use. And I mean, basically the planning commission or the council can rezone it at their will. And I hope that they will not now and in the future. So like to, put that out there where we can talk about freezing the zoning or whatever the right technical terms are there. City attorney on Ione Elementary, because it's not worth anything if it's government use as it is now. It can only be a school or something. So I think that would be a good thing to do. I know that the EIR doesn't address the traffic. I know that ACTC was there and they did a really good job on putting their position forward. And I just hope that there's a bunch of different strategies going on. And I think they definitely need to slow down and reevaluate what they're doing. It's not the plan that they said they were going to do. So hopefully they'll reassess. And also like to, on the same lines, we probably sent $25 million to the school district over the years. Like at some point, put that on the agenda or a closed session for a discussion on, holding them accountable for all that funding. And I'll just leave it at that. I mean, I know they've been spending it outside of Ione. I've called them on that before. They said they could spend it wherever they want in the district. And I disagree. I think that they could spend it where Ione citizens have an impact on the school district, and Pine Grove Elementary is not one of them. So, but just, yeah, future discussion on the school district and the funding we've sent them. And also on the road into Wildflower, they have 380,000 there.
Yeah.
That was supposed to have been held by the city of Ione, and somehow.
The correction, they actually told us they had 560,000.
Is it 560 now?
Yes.
That's good.
Is that what they are reporting it?
That is what they said when we were in the meeting. The
Yeah, but
last
it's-
number I heard was
that's-
560,000.
I think it's lower, but anyway, that's great. But that money was supposed to have been held by the city of Ione, if you read the documents. And it wasn't. So I'd like to look at that as well. That's it for me.
Stacy?
I have nothing.
Nothing.
Mitchell?
Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy New Year. That's it. Thanks.
Mine is the public meeting for the EIR.
Okay,
That's mine. And
I have,
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
yeah, everyone. I have nothing, so now we will resume to close session.
You need to take public comment on closed session.
Oh. One moment. Moment, please. Closed session tonight, is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. Paragraph 2 or 3 of subdivision D of the government code 94956.9, significant exposure to litigation, 1 potential case. And conference with labor negotiators, government code 54957.6. Agency designated representatives, A. Gedney, interim city manager, employee organization, Ione POA. Any public comment? Now we'll go to closed session. Oh, I like the thumbs up. Thanks. No.
Doing for Christmas, Andy, anything fun?
My battery's dead on my
My
phone.
brothers both have, well, they just have babies, so we're usually do a dinner, so we're gonna do lunch.
Oh. Okay.
When I had my
I can
kids,
turn my dad around all day.
everybody
Oh.
was like, we'll just do.
All around all day yesterday.
Drop it. Now they have kids like, it's pretty hard to have kids stay up late. I said, oh,
Yeah.
you don't say. So we're gonna do lunch. And then, yeah, we just. My in-laws, we go over there.
I'll be eating all my groceries. It was really,
Just do it.
really dumb of me to put them.
It'll be pretty low key. How about you?
All right, well,
Every year.
Mother, I.
We've got a huge house, so that holds like 60, 70.
I want it free.
Oh, nice.
And then
Probably,
they
yeah.
do it at mom and dad's.
I don't want to eat any chicken heads in.
So that's not.
You see that name I said? her?
Yeah, but
I
yeah,
want you to know that that's how you get bone broth. You can think that.
When I was a kid, we had over 20 family members within a 20-mile radius. So
Sounds like my family. When we do, we used to do Easter, we would go up in Sutter Creek, up to the Lions Club Park.
Oh, yeah.
Up on the hill there.
Yeah.
And,
Yes,
we'd have
it is.
around, 150 people.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
I
it's,
agree.
It's all kind of second, third cousins. type thing.
Same here. Yeah.
Mhm.
I know, well, that is where we spend that.
I went to the wall.
4 contacts. Following utilities, all 4 of them were. You get the 4th one. And he went out there, so he didn't contact him. He knew nothing. And that's, one of my friends, is an inspector, but he said,
I'm not gonna show you how to do this, and we are not gonna put you on, you gotta do this on your own. So we gotta suggest that, but if you don't know what you're doing, we'll hire all the lawyers from board, because we're working all over the state of California. And they're tired of living out of the suitcase, coming home, to go to work. So they call them up, and they say, oh, yes, we'll come to work for you, provided you sign a union agreement, operators, workers, and you don't come out and feel it. You don't tell us what you're worried with. And with that, we have pretty much unlimited bonding and all that equipment. And he was, 2,800 employees and all over everywhere. Yes, incredible guy. Horrible revolution. He's so dirt cheap that nobody can compete with him. He's just like dirt cheap. And everybody's like, how do you do it? He loses money because they're playing this. This is his product. And the reason he used a shop. So, no, that's not what the problem is. When you use sand, you're allowed to put sand in, 10 inches loose, 8 inches compact. Right. So your water line has to have 3 or 4 foot of cover. Right. Count how many lift. Oh, on the sewer, it's a lot of time and effort to compact sand. Right. You're not allowed to do it at once.
Thanks for the, almost, yeah. Right, you got it. Huh? Yeah, I sent you that email.
Yeah. I'm more shocked. Oh.
We are having the political questions, IT people. They're going through.
So there are a lot. I have to assume that they're going through, and I have to assume there are. They're not legal.
No, I'm just, yeah, that's what it happened. I'll put it out.
Well, where did this from?
We had to put it here.
Or does it go somewhere?
Okay.
Well, I think everything. Well, so it shouldn't take very long unless there's thousands of them. If there's thousands of them, there should be no privilege involved, which is one reason Andy would have it. That's what I was trying to get at. That's the problem. Let's take this along. Okay.
That's. All right. Okay. Bye.
This meeting's been.
That should probably go to Parks, right? Yeah, it should go to Parks. Yeah. they can prove it. I did that last night. Yeah, we don't need to do that. Shocking, I know.
It's cold in here now.
Oh, people still down there.
Before we turn,
That's your turn.
Um,
Direction given. Direction given. Direction given.
I said, what are you eating?
Well, I had a mint in my pocket.
Yeah, it'd be direction given, no, no further reportable action. Be the- No, but
Hey, we are back.
The microphones are.
Well, that was just practice. Let me know, Dennis. Okay. We're good. We are resuming from closed session. Direction was given. There was no report, no reportable action.
Bingo.
Meeting adjourned, motion?
Moved. Second.
Second. Aye.
Good.
I got an eye in there. Merry Christmas.
Got your candy.